All right, when I was creating this task for my students, it was a multi-step task in its original format in the workbook and on the student website. And I wanted to break the task down into more manageable steps. I wanted to give the students a chance to interact and do and perform an action, but also then get that feedback before they do the next step, so that if they need to be corrected with that feedback as they're working, that they have that built-in feedback for correction or affirmation of what it is that they're doing. So I took this task and I broke it down into steps. And you'll notice on this first one, we've got to drag this vertical line segment. We've got to drag that up and mark the median or 50th percentile and label that. And then notice when they go to the next part, the next step, that previous action is completed. And so if they were to have mislabeled that, if they dragged it up and put it in the wrong place, then they would see when they progress to the next slide that they would get that feedback that they need for understanding, for comprehension of this task. But one of the things I know that can be very frustrating to students is if there are too many movable parts on the screen. So I've got a text box here, an image here, text box here, and then I've got this line segment and this label as well that they need to move around. And it can be very frustrating if you go to move something and it's not doing what you wanted it to do. And in this case, I drew that line segment to prepare for the students before I put in the screenshot of the data. And so it places it on the screen in order. And I can change the order of these items and I can bring that to the front. So I could try it as a teacher and do that, or teach the student these skills as well, but it's going to frustrate some kids. Also, I noticed that if kids are trying to place things on top of a graph or something like that, if the graph moves or at any point, if they accidentally bump it as they're trying to manipulate a little piece, and then it throws the whole thing off, anything else that they've done on that screen to interact with that particular task, and it's very frustrating. So there are some things that can remain exactly where they are and still not be inaccessible or as inaccessible as other things on the screen. So one thing that I want to stay here is I want the text boxes to stay right where they are, because I want the text boxes to be read if needed by a screen reader, professional software, or one of these free extensions that are available. I also want the text to be able to be translated if needed, for students that might need to utilize translation or dictionary tools or other things like that as part of their understanding of the written words on the screen. So I want those to remain where they are, but I do want to make this permanent on the screen so it doesn't get moved in any way. So the fastest thing or easiest way for me to do it, most efficient way for me to do it, is to set the slide exactly what I want it to look like for the student to interact with at the very end, and then duplicate that slide. And then I want to remove everything that's not that image that I want to become permanent. So I just highlighted using my trackpad. I'm just holding down my finger and tracing to highlight those options that I want removed, and then clicking my delete key on my keyboard. And now this is exactly where I want the data to be on the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to download this slide as an image. JPEG or PNG, either one's fine. I don't see that the quality difference is any better with either option for what it is that I'm doing. So I'm going to download this as a PNG file or PNG file. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that original slide and I'm going to delete this screenshot. And I'm going to choose as my background, I'm going to choose the slide that I just downloaded. It's already exactly in the dimension and layout of where I want that particular screenshot to be, this data set that I have here. But notice now that this data cannot be moved. This is no longer a screenshot that can be moved around the screen. Around the slide, and then when they drag something on top, they're not going to accidentally interfere and relocate another image that's on the screen. So again, yes, you can absolutely download this entire thing as an image and set that as your background, but best practice would be don't do that if text is involved. We'd never want screenshots of text because we want text to still be able to be translated when needed. We want text to still be able to be read aloud by screen reader options. When needed, we want to be able to take advantage of tools such as the dictionary tool to look up words and empower our students to be able to utilize these tools that are available to them with their language piece of the math that they're learning.